Hello, my name is Laree Daniel, and I'm the chair of the Black Law Student Society at NYU, at the law school there. And two questions. One, we would love to have you come and be a featured speaker for February of this month. So how can we get in touch with you? And two, where is your information? Where is your art?
There are two websites you can look at. One is called oneness.org. I think I got that right. Is that right? Thank you. And the other is posttraumaticslavesyndrome.com. All one word, posttraumaticslavesyndrome.com. There you can get information about how to get the scale. You can get information about the model, the educational model I wrote, and the dissertation. And also there's I have some information published in a book called Should America Pay? By Ray Winbush, that's out at Barnes and Nobles. You can find that book, and there's some information on post-traumatic slave syndrome. I'm also published in journals. They're pretty thick and boring, but if you want to go that route, there's some literature that I've published there too.
Okay.
Hi there. My name is Yusef Salam. I'm an educator and writer, and you mentioned some things like castration and so on, and the behavior of Caucasians or whites toward blacks. Do you agree with Dr. Cress Welson's theory that some of this is genetic, is sort of a genetic inferiority toward blacks? They don't want to lose their ethnicity because they fear blacks and things like that.
I think, for certain, I don't know enough about genetics to make a call on that. I do know that there's a whole lot more that's being looked at in terms of DNA and that's being looked at in terms of melanin and just basic neurophysiology. I know for a fact that, for example, if you begin to look at behavior around stress and trauma, particularly in young children, it actually impacts the brain. If children experience trauma early on, from say 0 to 5, it actually impacts the neurotransmitters in the brain. You're looking at a release of the chemical cortisol, which is a chemical that kind of institutes the notion of fight or flight. Okay, so I want you to stay with me. It's a long way of answering the question. But what we do know that if a child is consistently subjected to trauma and stressors, now, if you're black, you know that's an inordinate amount. And if those children have that, they produce an excess of cortisol, which is why you may find this experience. You walk up to a child, maybe he's in the school, maybe he's at home. Derek, could you pick up your books there? Why you always on me? Why I got to pick up the books? You don't ever say anything to Cynthia about it. I'm sick of this. Dang, all of a sudden it's escalating. What's been tripped is cortisol, fight or flight. Now, there's not a fight or flight, but it's perceived that way. So now, the more you confront, the higher it escalates. There are modalities. The absolute opposite is what happened. Stop. Derek, you think I'm attacking you? I'm not attacking you, Derek. I'm lowering my voice. I'm slowing the pace. Because when a person is in fight or flight, they don't have access to reason. And what that means, if you want to know it on a very physical level, if, for example, I'm right now, and that microphone represents a semi-truck, and I'm outside, and a semi-truck flips over and is moving towards me. What happens in my body is my body shuts down my access to reason. Completely. My brain wants every ounce of energy to move me from that spot. It does not want me to go, God, there appears to be a semi coming my way. Now I wonder if I should move. No. What happens is I find myself on the other side of the street. Someone goes, Joy, what happened? I go, I don't know. The first thing I knew, I was looking at it, and then I don't even remember how I got there. Why? Because it closed my access to reason. So when a child is in fight or flight and we're saying, listen, are you listening to me? Why are you yelling? You're talking to someone that can't access reason. They feel like they're being threatened. Well, that not only do they do that consistently, they begin to trigger it because it becomes addictive. So they create crisis so they can trigger it. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is another thing that's happening a lot with our children. And they're being labeled ADHD and ADD and every other D there is because they don't understand what happens to children with stressors. So there is a real impact on the brain. How that factors in genetically along with social learning, I'm not certain. But it's certainly worthy of investigation, research.
Hello, Doctor. I would just like to purchase a copy of your thesis on post-traumatic slave syndrome and also your dissertation on the African American male.
But the respect scale is actually is a separate instrument. However, there's a way. One is you can get the dissertation through Portland Public Schools, through Portland State University. That may be a harder route. Go through the website. They'll direct you, and so there's a way of getting it that way. There's another way to go straight through the university. It's a little lengthy, though, because there's a whole issue, because it's pretty thick. The dissertation is pretty thick, like 140 something. I don't know how long it is anymore. But yeah, you can. What did you say the website was? Portland State University, and the website is oneness.org, or
How do you spell
ONENESS.org, or posttraumaticslavesyndrome.com.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Francine Jones, and I really enjoyed your presentation. And my question is, a couple of months ago, I saw on one of the news channels Condoleezza Rice, who was presenting the president's new plan to deal with Africa, and she said that they were doing this because slavery was a defect in history, and the way he's relating to Africa now is trying to remedy that, and I want to know how you analyze that.
Well, you know, here everything is driven. The economy drives everything. Now, we also know, and one of the things that constantly gets, probably in the line is someone that wants to talk about reparations. There is this parallel process. You have reparations on the one hand that deals with a repair of that injustice, which happens on a variety of levels, economically, socially, spiritually, a variety of different ways that we need to repair. You have that. That's a discussion that's out there. You know, my father used to always say, linger long but die you must. There's only so long that they can avoid that. So the other piece is, you know, Bush went to the slave castles and he saw what was there, and he made the big mistake because the UN has declared this a crime against humanity, what happened. And so he said, verbally, he said it, and they quoted him, this was a crime against humanity. The President of the United States said that. And when he did that, that was admission. So there's a lot of politics and a lot tied up in that's making it politically correct for them to begin to look at that repair. And they're trying to do that with the least amount of injury to their economy as possible. So please understand that, yeah, you're going to hear a lot more about that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tessa Spidalis, and before coming to this country, I wasn't black. Now I'm here and I'm trying to really assimilate what it means to be black. I'm involved in early childhood care, and I want to know how could I really implement racial socialization for them so that they could really appreciate themselves as a black American child.
I think that, first of all, there are a number of models. I would never suggest that there's only one way. There's a number of ways. And I think we socialize the children by telling them the truth. And we tell them based on their capacity to hear things. My children, for example, while the school did exist, we had something called the Black Educational Center, which was the only black private school that I know of in the country of its kind. It was totally Afrocentric, and it basically, these children graduated from Joseph Kincaid and Malcolm X. These were the rooms. They learned about their history, and up until my son was about, and my daughter was about, 10 or 12, they thought it was just, they felt sorry for white people. No, they did. They did. They said, God, it's just so sad that they don't have the rich culture that we have, you know. And that's an interesting notion, because here's what happens when we ask. There's a book called Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? And that book really addresses the difference of what happens to our children versus theirs. And when you ask a black child, or even a Latino child, or a Native child, you say to them, tell us a little bit about your cultural background. African American children will say, well, I know that, you know, my ancestors came from Africa, and each one of them will talk about it. When they come to white children, they get stumped. And one little girl said, I guess I'm just normal. Which means everybody else is what? Abnormal. So the sense of culture was not there. It was not present. What we need to do is give our children that sense of who they are, strong enough, because you don't have to worry about them getting the other half. If they go in the public school system, which if it doesn't destroy or injure them,